Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and as heavily requested by, well, me, and also everybody in my comments section, here are the cards that I and probably a lot of you are going to miss when they rotate out. As much as there's just toxic, just impossible to play against, aggravating, game-ruining garbage, there are a lot of cards that are appropriately powered that are just good, but not like too good. They really aren't going to piss off your opponent that much. And if they do, they're the one with the problem because they're not overpowered cards. They're just fair, fun, and appropriate. Or they're so unique or they turn the game around so well. It's just, oh, I love these cards. First, we've got Adorned Pouncer. No surprise here. One, it's a cat. Cats are awesome. Welcome to the internet. So wait, a 1/1 double striker for 2. Cool. I mean, it's 2 damage for 2. And then if they kill it, you bring it back for 5, which is really cheap for Eternalize, especially considering this is the most powerful Eternalize card in the game. Because you bring it back and it's 4 first strike, 8 total damage. That's without any kind of synergy, tribal boost, counters, nothing. No auras, no equipment, just in a vacuum, it does 8 damage. Oh my gosh, this is like game ending and all you need is 5 mana, which is very reasonable. This thing has come out of the graveyard and won me entire games so many times I'm gonna miss it like you wouldn't believe. Next up, Aerial Responder. That's the wrong version, but it's from Kaladesh. I don't know what that set symbol is. But yeah, I mean, it's a flying vigilance lifelink 2/3. I mean, 3 toughness, vigilance, and it's flying, and it has lifelink. It's just a good card. It's like a free life total difference of 4 every single turn. And if somebody has to waste a removal spell on this, wow. Next up, the number 2 most underappreciated card in Standard right now, Appeal to Authority. To cast both of these, it takes 3 mana. 3 mana. That's it. For 1 green mana, 1 target creature of your choice gains trample and +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures you control. These are creature flood colors, and creature flood is a main mechanic right now. I mean, look at Huatli, look at Shana. So +X on the toughness, and trample, and +X to the attack. I mean, those 3 together are insane. For 1 mana. Yes, they see it coming. If this was an instant, they would have to ban this card. It would be too good. And then Authority, in addition, tap up to 2 target creatures your opponent controls. All your creatures gain vigilance, and effectively those 2 creatures can't block. I have won the game after casting this on Arena probably 50 to 100 times. This is game ending for, honestly, 1 mana, but 3 mana, that's a death sentence. And you can split it. And if they're stupid enough to mill this card into your graveyard, you just hit them with Authority and just win the game. I did that 3 times. Thanks to fraying sanity playing douchebag mill players. Gotten with a couple Eternalized too, by the way. Next up, this one will piss some people off, As Foretold. Hey, speaking of things being foretold, I told everybody during spoilers this would be one of the absolute best cards in the set. Turns out, price-wise and popularity-wise, this is one of the best cards in the set. Who would have thought? This card's like $12. Well, retail on eBay, it's like 8, but still. So this is just a time bomb. I mean, this is an improved version of Aether Vial. Now, with the improvement, yeah, it costs a little bit more mana, but other than that, I mean, the fact that it says or less, that's crazy. This is just, you set it up on turn 3, you're in blue, you lose all your mana, you open yourself up to anything because now you don't have a counter spell, worth of mana, but boy, does this pay off. Like 5 turns later, you are going to dominate the game if this is still in play. I love stuff like that because, I mean, before this even really gets going, they've had a bare minimum of 3 or 4 turns to do something about it. If they haven't, then they're just going to get double pounded and you're just going to run out of cards twice as quickly. So this isn't like the end all game ending, scarab god. Oh, it's all prepackaged. You could literally start a game with 56 lands and 4 scarab gods, and all 4 of them in hand. In all likelihood, you would win. You don't need any other cards. Well, maybe a kill spell, because something's got to go to the graveyard, but that's it. But this is fair. Yes, that is called a free casting card fair, because you have to wait for it, okay? If you want to free cast some giant bomb, it still has to be below the number of charge counters. So there is still a restriction on it. Unlike Marvel, unlike Scarab God, there's no restriction. So next up, we've got Battle at the Bridge, another highly underappreciated card because everybody assumes, oh, well, I'm not running, artifacts, so I won't get a use out of this. No, you will. This is a better card than Harness Lightning, just right off the bat. Oh, you've got an indestructible creature like a god card, Hazoret. Okay, cool. This kills it. -X, -X. For 2 mana, this takes out a 1 toughness creature, so it puts it not quite on par with Fatal Push, maybe. But then again, you gain X life, so I mean, it kind of does put it on par with Fatal Push. I mean, it costs double the mana. Okay, so that's super debatable. If your deck has a lot of lands, any kind of mana ramp, or any reasonable amount of artifacts, run this card. And also if it's black. What it ends up doing is taking out their biggest, baddest, problem, like the thing standing in the way of you winning the game, and then you gain equivalent life to X. I mean, this will turn around the game. In early game, it's a cheap removal. It's on par with Walk the Plank and Cast Down. Except it's more flexible. I mean, yeah, okay, you might have to throw 3 into it instead to take down something with 2 toughness, which would be pretty early game. But you also gain life, so it's like you're buying yourself time, and that extra mana is coming in very, very handy. I absolutely love this. I mean, I've done this for like 12 late game. Ooh, ouch. Plus 12 to me and -1 giant creature for you. That is how you win games. This is buying yourself time in card form. Next up, oh, this one will piss some people off. Bantu's Last Reckoning. Oh, you're running speed red? Now you're not. I like speed, do you? You like turn 1 hasters like Bomat? Okay, by the way, Bomat absolutely should have been in the last video. That's the #1 most mentioned card. Like, from you guys in the comment section, yes, I did forget to put Bomat in there. Once again, that card absolutely should have been banned. That's right, we're now up to literally every card in the Red Rush deck that I've said should have been banned. I did jokingly say Mountains should be banned, so I have actually covered the entire deck at this point. So yeah, I mean, a board wipe that costs 3. I mean, people lose their minds over Damnation. That was like a $35 card at one point. This is better, arguably. I mean, not being able to untap your lands is, not nothing. But if you know your opponent can't come back from this, yeehaw. And if you're gonna not be able to untap your lands, you might as well leave as many open as possible then. Like, for example, paying 3 to wipe the board. I love this spell. This has gotten me out of such tight situations. It's taking people in their high synergy, tribal, this and that, hexproof, whatever, and just taking a dump on it. And I absolutely love that. Next up, Channeler Initiate. Pretty dang self-explanatory. It's a mana dork you can use 3 times, and then it's a 3/4 when you're done with it. Nothing even compares to this. I mean, you get mana until you pretty much have enough lands to not really need as much mana, and then you've got a combat-capable creature. It's a 3/4 for 2 at that point. I mean, this card's amazing. At least we got Llanowar, so it's just, okay, 1 turn earlier, it's not a 0/1 when it hits the battlefield. Okay, now we've got something. Next up, oh god, some of you guys are really going to disagree with this. Disallow. This is on par with the spell Counterspell. Counterspell costs 2, and it only stops spells. This costs 3, and it stops spells or activated abilities. That is exactly like a linear scale in power. That is, it's appropriate to add 1 more mana to this. So yes, I would say this is an equal spell to Counterspell. Well, in only usefulness of the spell versus the cost. I mean, obviously a spell that costs 2 instead of 3 is huge because you either can cast it or you can't cast it. You either have enough mana or you don't. But just assuming that mana's not a problem because, your deck's built properly and it's the proper turn or whatever, this is the most powerful counterspell that costs 3 ever printed in the history of the game, unless I'm really missing something. Insidious Will would blow this away, but that costs 4. I mean, what do we even have to compare it to? Dissolve? Ooh. Dissipate? Oh boy. Not even on the same planet as the power level of this spell. It's a shame because it can just stop one of something. Just anything that's happening in the game, this can stop at 1 time for 3 mana. I wish this was a staple and they'd print it in every core set from now until forever. In fact, this is so important to the standard meta, I think we are going to see this again. Next up, Dreamstealer, Menace 1/2, and every time you hit them, which, Menace, however much damage you just did to them, they have to discard that many cards. This by itself is amazing. Them having to waste a removal spell on this is hilarious. It's coming back for 6 anyway, and it's going to make you discard 4 cards. So you got that I'm back for revenge factor. And your opponent will flip the table if you can hit this guy with a boost spell. Something this annoying that they have to kill twice, assuming you can get to 6, is just mind-bendingly evil. And then they gave it Menace so it can barely even be stopped by creatures. It's just, this thing's almost too powerful. The funny thing is, nobody played it. I don't get it. I do not understand it. Next up, as foretold, in bug form, Fretwork Colony. Those of you who have been watching my channel for a while know that I have a clearly unhealthy obsession with this card, but that's because it is lethal in 5 turns. A 5-turn countdown and they lose the game from the time this hits the battlefield, and it costs 2. It's basically a planeswalker, and swinging for, what would that be, 6 damage is basically its ult. So you bring it out, sits there, does nothing, wonderful. They're like 1-1, I don't need to waste a spell on it. Next upkeep, gets a counter, you lose a life. Okay, so you lose a life, whatever, that's not always great. Also, it can't block. This card would have been an atrocity if this thing could block. I mean, this would have been in every black deck. They probably wouldn't have had to ban it, but people wouldn't have been happy with it. Because, I mean, it's like you have so many turns to respond to it, and it's a creature with no way to protect itself. 0 evasion. I mean, come on. But boy, would this be in every black deck if it could block. Oh my god, or if they gave it lifelink. Oh, can you even imagine? So, the very next turn, you're swinging for 2. Assuming you can get through, that's 2. Then you hit for 3, that's 5. Then you hit the next turn for 4, that is 9. You hit the next turn for 5. Then you're up to 14, I believe. Should have written this down. I'm doing this in my head while also trying to think about recording. Next turn, swing for 6, it's lethal. You could have even left off the initial swing if they have something too big, and you're still good. Everybody loves a creature where you drop it in for 2, and you just swing away every turn, and what's the worst that could happen? Oh, they kill it, they block it, whatever. I only paid 2 for it. I'm not that invested. And cool. Okay, the life loss stops. You know, win-win. Hey, by the way, Scarab God, Liliana, and like 5 other cards at this point can bring this out of the battlefield as a 4/4 zombie. It starts as a 4/4. That's a fun one. Next up, Heaven, or as I like to call it, Windstorm. Okay, they took a Windstorm, they cut it in half, and taped some weird crap to the bottom of it that has literally nothing to do with it. This is the most illogical, like least synergistic, like almost to a comedic point aftermath card. You either want to destroy all flyers or you want to destroy all creatures on the ground. When would you ever do both, and why is it split color? Now I get it, it's basically, what is that, Earthquake or whatever? There's some card that Earth basically is. And Heaven is the card Windstorm, it's the exact same card. And yeah, I mean, okay, you're running all flyers, cool, you toss it into the graveyard for 0x, do 0 to yourself, and then Earth them, I guess. It's a fun option, I guess. Double red is a little rough if you're not actually playing red, but you got some universal sources. It's odd. So that's why I said basically Windstorm. I only care about the top. I mean, you'd never use both of these. It's virtually inconceivable because one of the 2 of them is going to nuke your creatures, and if you 0 either one of them, then what's the point? But that said, oh my god, this is infinitely better than Plummet. Yeah, you need some mana and something the size of a Sphinx or Dragon you might have a problem with, but I just love this spell. It's a shame to see it go. I was actually hoping they would put Windstorm in M19. Unfortunately, they did not. All I'm going to say about this is for not a whole lot of mana, it's an asymmetric board wipe if your opponent's running heavy flyers. It affects them, not you, and it can kill limitless amounts of creatures. I mean, this is just the Thopter Assassin to end all Thopter Assassins. Next up, Kefnet's Last Word. You guys know this is in my Kid Ramper deck. I just love this. I really wished it cost 3. But I mean, stealing their biggest, baddest permanent, now it's yours. I mean, if they paid 7 for it, now you basically paid 4 for it. Okay, but you're, you know, speaking of paying for it, your lands don't untap. Okay, that's paying for it. But out of all the Last Word cards, this is the most, oh, who gives a crap? Because you just stole their biggest, baddest creature. Or equipment. Or enchantment. This thing steals everything. I don't know if you noticed this by reading it. You can steal an enchanted land, or awoken land, or manified land. I'm sure there's some cutesy little nickname that some pros put together. Like Nissa turns a land into a 5/5, you steal it, you can actually target it. Very few cards in the entire game don't have non-land written on them. This does not. Like exile non-land permanent, destroy non-land permanent, do this to non-land permanent. Well, it's still a land. Sorry, this one, nah, steal their land, who cares? It just has to also be a creature, and then you can tap it for mana. I know because I've done this. I mean, they have an As Foretold, steal it. They have a Gulta, steal it. Dragon, steal it. Nicobolus, steal it. The creature, not the Planeswalker. Glorybringer, it's mine now. I mean, if you steal the biggest creature, what are they going to do? Oh no, I don't have any lands next turn. What am I going to do? They're just going to pound me. You just stole their biggest creature. They are not swinging at you, and oh God help them if they have to burn a removal spell on their own damn creature. Everybody loves quit hitting yourself cards, and this is the best version of it I've ever seen. Oh, except for that red pirate card. That thing's pretty baller. Next up, Majestic Miri, another drastically unbelievably underappreciated card, especially when white-green flood is a hot deck right now. So this is, the old Westvale, cultist card, the little flippy card where its power and toughness were equal to the number of creatures, or Shauna, the more updated version of it. Oh, except double, because its power and toughness are equal to twice the number of creatures you control, including itself. 4 creatures out plus this one, it's a 10/10. And then in addition, it's also Odric. At the beginning of combat, if anything has, oh, wait for it, flying, first strike, double strike, death touch, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, or vigilance, it also gains all of those. There's a reason this is in my Kid Ramper deck, and it's because I'm stealing your aerial responder. Oh look, this has vigilance and lifelink and flying. That's a shame. I stole somebody's adorned pouncer with entrancing melody. It was technically a token, so I stole it for 2 mana, and then this gained double strike. This card is single-handedly game ending, and it costs 5. But, I mean, if they for some reason can't destroy this, they can destroy whatever's feeding it all these amazing abilities, or hit a dual shot and take out 2 servos and weaken this significantly. So it has a drastic weakness or downside or whatever you want to say, but oh my gosh, 1 swing and they're dead usually. I love this thing. It was in 3 of my decks and I can't believe it's going away. That really sucks. Next up, big surprise, Mirage Mirror. You know how Appeal to Authority is the number 2 least appreciated, most overlooked card in Standard right now that people need to just get with it and start playing? This is number 1. Whatever they have, whatever they bring out, now you have one. This is like Ditto from Pokemon if Ditto didn't hold its own hit points. I mean, you want to delay the game? You want to, take their best card and also have one? For 2 mana, you can do it, and this can go in any color deck. I mean, you can't get much better of a card than this. Last I checked, this card's somewhere between like $4 and $7 too. I mean, somebody's playing this in something. This is such a commander card too, by the way, because you can clone their commander. The only downside is you can't clone your own legendaries, but this is mostly about cloning their creatures, their artifacts, their enchantments. You can also clone one of their lands. I thought that was odd. I mean, you could clone their Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, and then you paid 2 to do it, and then you tap it for, whatever devotion you want, and you gain 10 mana, or steal their man land. I know those are 2 antique references that are not relevant to Standard anymore, but I'm just outlining how unbelievably good this is. You could clone their equipment, equip it to your creature, swing, and win the game because of it. It's that good. You can steal one of their legendary permanents with like a hijack spell, or, active treason or whatever. And if it's legendary, oh, I just made this the same one. Oops, legendary rule. Pff, goodbye. It's graveyarded. Bye-bye. Sorry, I got it killed. My bad. The things you can do with this card are so unbelievable. The fact that it's just sitting out there means they can't swing with their biggest creature because they're automatically guaranteed to lose it. I guess unless it's like a 3/5 or something, then it'll just crash into itself. But then why even risk swinging? I mean, it's just this, you'd never have to really spend the 2 mana to turn this into their best permanent because they already are just assuming that's what you'll do, and then they don't attack. They don't cast their best permanent in the first place. They're just stuck. I love this card. I feel terrible that it was only in one of my decks, but oh my god, this is just fairness in card form. Everybody says it's overpowered. No, it's only as powerful as the worst thing that they brought out. Or you get 2 of the best thing you brought out. I mean, that's not really necessarily overpowered. Next up, Nature's Way, another highly underappreciated card, although people are starting to play it now. This is the best Force Fight card because it's not. I actually don't think I've ever seen a better Force Fight card than this. It is sorcery speed, that's huge, but for a mere 2 mana, your creature gains vigilance and trample, so you might not even need it to force fight something. That might just be, hey, vigilance and trample for 2 mana. Wonderful. Oh, and also it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. A one-sided force fight. This gets around death touch. It gets around lifelink too. It's just you take out their most toxic creature with this. This is usually how green decks deal with flyers. I mean, it just is. I love this. I mean, that vigilance and trample are what put it just so far into the crazy territory. I love this card. Next up, Never to Return. This one's on the weaker end, but I mean, it takes out a creature or a planeswalker that you target, not their choice, for 3. Yeah, it's sorcery speed. Okay, whatever. But I like it. It's get rid of a planeswalker for 3. I mean, you can't really do a whole lot better than that. And then, okay, for 4, you can exile target creature from a graveyard, which, okay, you can get rid of one of their, scrap heap scroungers or something. And then you create a 2/2 black zombie. So, I mean, it's, oh, okay, paying 4 for a creature, It's 2/2. I mean, it's not great. But if you have nothing better to do with your mana, free zombie. So to tack that on, it's not like, whoa, this is way too good, but and really the cards have absolutely nothing to do with each other except that you put a creature in the graveyard and now you're removing it from their graveyard. But yeah, it's just nice. It's just a removal spell with just an added little, flipping them the bird a couple turns later. Next up, Nissa, Nature's Artisan. This card is crazy. People are finally starting to play with this online just in time for it to cycle out. That really sucks. So it comes out with 5, you +3 it. So basically it comes out with 8 loyalty. How the hell are you just going to randomly deal 8 damage to this? And would I have even thrown it out if you could? And even if you could, that means I'm in danger and you just had to focus off my life total and at this. And then, -4, reveal the top 2 cards of your library, put all land cards from among them onto the battlefield and the rest into your hand. Oh my god. Draw 2 freaking cards and you're now outdrawing your opponent 3-1 because you're drawing 3 per turn and they're drawing 1. Oh, if it's a land, you get to free play it, even if you already played a land. That's crazy. And then her -12, all your creatures get +5/+5 and trample. All 3 of those are devastating. But Desolator, she's too slow, she costs 6. Did you know that green likes to ramp mana? Because I knew that. So what I suggest is you get the hell over it because this is a lot of value for 6 freaking mana. This is one of those planeswalkers where if you drop it in, they need to address it immediately, except that they can't because it has 8 loyalty. So you bring it out and you make the game 8 points harder to win, right? 8 points of damage more than they would have had to do before. Oh, that's right, you gave yourself 3 life. So you spent 6 mana to make the game 11 points harder to win, and that's if the first thing they do is Vraska's Contempt this thing. I do not understand why this never hit $10. Well, other than, I mean, it was in the front of the Planeswalker deck, so that probably had something to do with it. But still, this card is crazy. Oh, if you're playing a rampy deck, you had to put one of these in your deck. It's just so trolly and so hilarious. It's so universal. It's not, oh, it only works with this or only works in this kind of deck. It works in everything. A deck with creatures and lands in it that uses life to stay alive. You know, those really rare decks. Next up, it's also Nissa. Scry 2, cool. I love always drawing the card I need. Rigging the next 2+ turns, that's my jam. And G for 0, if you know that, for example, she has 5 loyalty, and every single creature in your entire deck costs 5 or less, you just drew an extra card, and you got to play it without paying for it. Wow. And with Scry 2, you could have put it there the previous turn. Ooh, that's messed up. And you determine the amount of loyalty she comes into the battlefield with. You can ult her on the turn that you bring her out if you play your cards right. Haha, pun very much intended. It's not even a pun, that's just what the statement means. I mean, technically it's a poker reference, but anyway. The -6 can win games. I mean, it's 10 damage in the air. That's not insignificant. You can bring it out turn 3 and just grow her until the game's over. Or you can bring her out for like 10 and they're never going to get rid of her with at least creature damage. It's virtually inconceivable when she's chucking out creatures for free the whole damn time. Deck arrangement, free casting, bonus creatures, card advantage, and a pretty good ult. And flexible loyalty. You really can't get much better of a Planeswalker than this as far as just universal, smooth playability that's reliable and, that just works. It's a shame she was 2 colors because that's what held her down. Next up, Oketra's Monument, aka Mount Mittens. All of your white creatures go down by 1. That's huge because there's a buttload of white creatures that are 3, 4, and 5 costs that are devastating to the game state. Angels are rocking it right now. Cats are insane. And then whether you cast a white creature spell or any other creature spell, you automatically get another token and it has vigilance. So, it's not just, oh, I can squeak in 1 more damage. Cool, I'll swing with them. Oh, but I might need to chump block with them. Nah, do both. It has vigilance. Who cares? This card is insane. I mean, this is Flood in card form. Every creature now basically counts for 2 creatures. Even if they counter the spell, you still get the 1/1. I don't know if you realize that. And you can get more creatures out per turn because they all went down by 1, or at least the white ones did. This card was crazy. Next up, Oviya Pashiri, who I keep calling Oviya, so I'm just going to stick to that. Okay, a 1/2 for 1. That's already pretty darn good. She has 2 abilities. She's also legendary, so a turn 1 legendary. Hi, welcome to Dominaria. And she creates servos for Flood. And for 5, that is like Planeswalker ultimate good. I mean, that's just short of what's that squid merfolk bitch? The octopus lady. She brings out octopi. Yeah, this is that. I bring out 8/8s, 9/9s all the time with Oviya. It's like, yeah, you got to pay 5 for it, but I mean, what do you have better for 5 if you got a line of 10 creatures? You get a 10/10, okay, artifact creature, so a lot of stuff can blow it up, but still, it's a 10/10 creature for 5 mana. What were you going to cast that was better? You literally can just stop drawing cards by the time you have a couple creatures on the battlefield and Oviya out. And she'll bring out a 6/6, then a 7/7, then an 8/8, then a 9/9, because the creature count goes up by 1. Oh, do you only have 3 mana open instead of 5 this turn? Cool, drop out a servo. You still get to accelerate the creature count. So the next turn, the artifact that you bring out is still 1 larger. All of this for 1 mana, and she can slay a Bomat Courier in her sleep. Very, very, very underappreciated card. Everybody reads it and goes, the artifact synergy. I don't need that. I don't do an artifact affinity deck. I don't do like a glorified metalwork deck. That's not my deck. I'm not running this. They're creatures. They're big ass creatures. Oh, and she's legendary, Dominaria decks. I have killed people on turn 6 with the Blackblade in her hands. Next up, no big surprise here, Ronis' Monument. I mean, green creatures are reduced by 1. Green creatures are really big and you're already ramping. I mean, duh, this is even better than the white one. And every time you drop in any creature of any color, honestly, this really should have said green in my opinion, some creature gets +2/+2 and trample. That's a fun combination, especially if it already has Death Touch, and double especially if it already has Death Touch and Indestructible. You know damn well who I'm talking about. I mean, you cast 2-3 little creature spells and oh, all of a sudden you got a +6/+6 trampler. Like, what was its base power and toughness? You probably just won the game. Next up, Shafet Dunes. I mean, yeah, you gotta pay 1 life to get an actual mana out of it, but, I mean, you're playing white. Is your life total really that important? You're probably gaining life at the same rate, or better. It doesn't come in tapped. You can use it immediately, and late game, +1/+1 to every creature. Usually I get 8 extra damage out of this minimum. This is so powerful they had to limit it to sorcery speed only, because if you could do this on defense, the game would just be over. And not legendary. This is in my top 3 for cards that I'm gonna miss. I mean, this card, it was in every white deck that I built. Every single one of them since this was printed. This really sucks to lose that card. And finally, we've got Vizier of the Menagerie. I mean, this is just, I'm gonna dump out a bunch of creatures. Not much more to it. I mean, you play with the top card of your library not showing, only you can look at it. That's so much better than cards in the past. You know what I'm talking about. Maybe a certain Courser? So if you got the mana to spend, here it is. And by the way, you do have the mana to spend, because you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast creature spells. And it's a 3/4, I mean, it's just a good spell. I mean, you'll know when to force shuffle with an Evolving Wilds, you'll know when to leave a Heroic Intervention on the top of your deck to draw it next turn, because that's awesome. It's kind of like a permanent scry, I guess, sort of. I mean, other than the fact that you can't get rid of the card. So I just like it. I mean, it's really subtle, but also really powerful. And if you don't believe me, look up the retail price of this card. I love when people are like, you're wrong, that card's weak, it's bulk garbage. And I'm like, somebody's playing it. Have you seen the price? And as usual, I lied, that is not the last card. Altered Ego is the last card. This wouldn't be a cards we're gonna miss without a card that I'm still missing, because this card was the most powerful card in all of Shadows. Assuming you had the mana to fund this and we're playing these 2 colors, which, okay. For 4 mana, you got their best creature. You got a clone of it permanently, and for 5 mana, you got a 1 better version of it. Getting a 10/10 because they have a 10/10 is one thing. Getting an 11/11 because they have a 10/10 is a whole different story. I cloned so many people's Gacellas with this damn card, and then I swung away with it. If you've got like 7 mana, the game is over, okay? You just ended the game. This card was insane. I wish it was still in standard, and it was, if you recall, in my original like Kid Ramper deck before it was really actually Kid Ramper. I mean, I don't need to steal your permanent if I'm gonna make a better version of it, because the next turn I'm swinging with it and you're going to die. I absolutely love that card, and that artwork is freaking hilarious. Like, what the actual hell is going on right there? A shapeshifter turned into a giant 20-foot tall Attack on Titan's nun and then crashed through her window/wall. I mean, that's all kinds of messed up right there. That's some nightmare fuel. And to cap it all off, they gave her some sharp pointy teeth. I don't think that the original one had those teeth. Also, I don't think that's a nun. I think I totally just misspoke there. Not everybody wearing like a white bonnet is a nun. Oh my God. Like, if anything, she's just like a Quaker or something, or Amish, I don't know. Oh my god, I miss Altered Ego. So those are the cards as promised that I thought we're just gonna miss like crazy. Every one of them is very appropriate. It's an appropriate cost of mana. It's not like absolutely game ending unless it's, you know, a bunch of hoops you have to draw through. There's a condition behind it. It's just, there's power and then there's a balance to it. There's an offset. There's a fairness. It leaves your opponent a way out. Unlike the Scarab God, which just comes out and just takes a big steaming shit in the middle of the game. There is nothing you can do to remove it. The game's over. Everybody knows you're not going to be able to exile the goddamn thing, and if you do, they have another one in their hand. Okay, that's not even an option. They're going to use your best cards against you that they already blew up with their stupid removal spells. I hate that damn card. That card was a disaster. It never should have been printed. These are fun. They're like, I'm doing big, amazing, fun, cool stuff, but I'm leaving the door open a little bit for my opponent to actually win. You know, if they have an appropriately built deck, very balanced, they got some control, they were smart about what they countered and what they didn't, they can stop me, but otherwise this card is so powerful I'm going to dominate the game with it. That's how Magic works, and that's how it should work. That's how every game should go. It's not just, I drop this in, you lose. Like Void Winter, you put it in and, oh well, you're basically done. Like Walking Ballista. Okay, cool, you just can't play creatures for the entire rest of the game because I'll just blow them up one at a time. And if you target this with literally anything, I'm just gonna blast all the damage at your face and then cast another one. What do you even do to stop Walking Ballista? Just burn a spell trying to get rid of it and then take like 7 damage? Soulscar Mage, how the fuck do you play against that? Oh, all red damage is wither counters, cool. So if I bring out a creature, you're gonna melt it to the point where I can't block with it, it's too small, or you're gonna outright kill it. And if I don't bring out a creature, you're just going to keep swinging at me while using the spells to hit me in the face instead. Wonderful. I'm blocked out. There's nothing I can do when Soulscar Mage is in play. I can't even continue to play the fucking game until that thing's gone. I mean, that's ridiculous. Scrap Heap Scrounger. My only choice is to pin it down or exile it. Or steal it. Or distract you and rip the card up while you're not looking. I mean, that's a strategy at this point. Do you see the difference here? It's powerful but fair, or powerful but game-ruining and obnoxious. I'd say it's a fine line. It's really not. There's nothing fine about that line. Like, even the 2 last word spells, yeah, they're hyper powerful and just single-handedly game-ending. Maybe. It's still conditional. But I just gave you 2 turns to come back from it. I mean, if you can't, then your deck's not good enough. It's really that simple. If you can't beat me while I can't use my mana at all, then your deck just is crap. I mean, there's really no polite way to put that. So if there's any I missed, which I guarantee there is because I just looked up the last 12 deck lists that I built and then ignored all other cards, let me know down in the comment section what are you gonna miss. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.